You're listening to the Rod Langway Fan Club.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Rod Langway Fan Club podcast, Trade Deadline Edition. I am your host, Jeff Rollman, with my co-host, Mark Cheknita.
Hey.
And John Snowden.
Hello.
And another trade deadline is in the books, boys. What did you guys think of this one?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a very hyped up trade deadline. There was obviously COVID that put a damper on things. The quarantine was in effect, so we thought we might not see as much movement, but I think it turned out to be okay.
Yeah, the other problem was that a lot of teams were really tight to the cap, but we did see a new trend that has emerged, and that's third-party teams coming in and eating salary to facilitate these trades. So both the Red Wings and the Sharks, who had cap space, took on partial salaries to help out the Leafs and to help out the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. So this could become a trend.
Yes, I wonder if the NHL will crack down on that if it gets any worse.
Yeah, I think if it goes out of control and you get 4 or 5 team trades and they just filter players through, that would be a problem. But you never know.
Hey, if it helps more trades happen, then I'm all for it.
Sure.
So we had a former MVP, Taylor Hall, traded from the Buffalo Sabres to the Boston Bruins. What do you guys think of this deal?
Well, it's funny because I think when Taylor Hall signed with the Sabres for 1 year, we all had this in the back of our minds that he would be traded if things went south in Buffalo, and boy, did they ever. Pretty underwhelmed with the return, though. All they were able to get was a second-round pick and mid-level roster player, bubble player maybe, Anders Bjork.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised to see how little they got. On the other hand, though, I mean, Hall had 2 goals, which is pretty remarkable. His value could not possibly be any lower. So, I mean, he's probably playing on the best team he's ever played for in his career. Do you expect to see an improvement in his game?
Hopefully he helps the Bruins, because boy, do they ever need some help on forward depth.
Yeah, the Bruins are in a fight for their playoff lives, so I can't see this hurting their chances. But I'm not sure this was the guy for them to go get.
He might not be the perfect fit, but I do think he'll have an impact. They've needed some secondary scoring. And Taylor Hall, right from his draft year when he was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers, he always wanted to play in Boston. So maybe he'll be a little extra motivated this time around. So
he's going to get either David Krejci or Patrice Bergeron as a centerman. So that's going to make a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
I think the next trade, though, we got to talk about is probably the biggest surprise of the deadline. Nobody had this on their radar. The Detroit Red Wings part ways with Anthony Mantha, but they got a king's ransom for him. So what did they get coming back there, John?
Well, they got Jacob Vrana, which, I mean, a lot of people might say is kind of an equivalent player. I mean, he's a little bit younger than Mantha, surprisingly. But they also got Richard Panik and a first and second round pick, first being in 2021 and then the second being next year in 2022. So what do we think about this?
Well, I know that Washington had soured on Jacob Vrana. They'd been, playing him on the third and fourth lines. He was down to like 12 minutes per game. But to give up a first and a second round pick for Anthony Mantha, who's had his own struggles in Detroit this season, he's also been stapled to the bench at various points throughout the season. I don't know. I guess they figure he's bigger. He's flashed probably a higher upside. I guess they just thought a change was necessary as they move into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's going to look really good playing with some of those superstars in Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. But, on the other side of this, I really like this for Stevie Y and the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, getting a couple early picks, solid player like Vrana, and a veteran, kind of two-way guy like Richard Panik. I think it's a great trade for both teams.
Yeah, no, I like it better for Detroit, but if Mantha helps Washington go on a deep run, then I could change my tune on that.
Sure. Okay, well, next up, we have defending Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning, acquiring David Savard for a first-round draft pick. What do we think about this here, boys?
Yeah, they paid a heavy price to get him, but I feel like this is going to put them over the top. Look at their decor now. You've got Victor Hedman, who's probably going to play with Savard, it sounds like. He's a good stay-at-home presence. Your second pairing is going to be Ryan McDonough paired with Eric Chernak, which means that Mikhail Sergachev is now down to your third pairing, probably playing with Yanni Ruda. That is an elite defense core.
It sure is. Yeah, in front of a great goalie and outstanding forward squad that is missing probably their best player, Nikita Kucherov, who's due to come back come playoff time. So watch out. I mean, they could be primed for a repeat here.
Yeah, they're the team to beat, I think. This just puts them over the top.
Well, I mean, I think we would definitely be remiss if we didn't mention your team, Jeff. The Toronto Maple Leafs making a bunch of splashes, big and small.
Yeah, they acquire veteran Nick Foligno from the Columbus Blue Jackets for a first-round pick in 2021 and a fourth-rounder in 2022. He's kind of everything the Leafs are looking for. They need a gritty two-way forward, and they got him. He's also a great leader.
Yeah, one of those players that always shows up better in the playoffs when things get dirtier and tougher down low. He's had the experience of being in playoff runs before. And they did pay a pretty penny to get him, giving up a first and fourth round pick, partially because they did have to get a little bit of help from the Sharks to eat salary. But I think this is going to work out really well for them. Maybe not the sexiest acquisition like a Taylor Hall, but I think he could be just as valuable, if not more so, to the Leafs.
If not more so, I would say, especially for a team like the Leafs that has just been known to flop in the playoffs. He's had that crazy upset against the Tampa Bay Lightning 2 years ago. He was a significant part of that Columbus team. And so, a great piece for the Leafs. But they didn't stop there.
No, they also picked up goaltender David Riddick from the Calgary Flames. Big save, Dave.
Yeah, I wonder what this says about the health of Freddie Anderson as playoffs near. Do you think he'll be ready?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, they've been getting great goaltending right now from Jack Campbell, but Riddick is a nice insurance policy if Freddie's not back.
Yeah, as we saw last year in the playoffs, it's good to have three goalies because, look what happened to Colorado.
Yeah, they got down to Hutch.
Yeah, that's
And
kind
the
of
Leafs didn't want to be in the same position.
Totally.
Michael Hutchinson. No offense, he's played pretty well this year for us.
He has.
Yeah, I think some people were a little surprised that maybe the Leafs didn't make a bigger splash on the back end. They got Ben Hutton, which is fine. I mean, you can plug
Yeah, you
a
probably
hole,
don't want him
small
playing
hole.
regular minutes, but as a seventh defenseman, not bad.
Yeah, but they didn't really address that need for some solid depth on the back end on defense. So is
And they
Foligno
also-
enough to?
Yeah, well, they also picked up Riley Nash,
Sure.
another veteran from the Columbus Blue Jackets, who's currently injured. It's hard to say if he's even going to play for the Leafs, but he could be good in the fourth line, solid on draws.
Yeah, if they go deep in the playoffs, he might be ready, if not for the first round, maybe the second or third round, if they go that deep, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought the Leafs would have probably gotten a better defenseman, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And all things considering, I think they should be pretty happy with their trade haul.
I think they're looking pretty good on paper, I got to say.
Sure.
Well, a team that the Rod Langway Fan Club podcast decided would be along for the ride in our second podcast of the season, Florida Panthers made a couple moves.
Yeah, I was surprised to see them get Sam Bennett. I know that Calgary's been looking to trade him for ages. I didn't think Florida would be a team that would come knocking, and they paid quite a bit for him, actually, giving up a second-round pick and a prospect. But he is a guy that plays kind of gritty hockey, more suited for the playoffs, so that might work out for them.
Yeah, I think he's been a pretty solid depth forward throughout his career here. He probably hasn't panned out exactly how Calgary was hoping for a 6th overall pick, but I do think he could be a pretty decent contributor for Florida in the playoffs.
And the loss of Aaron Ekblad on the defense was a huge blow to Florida. They tried to soften it a little bit with Brendan Montour coming in from the Buffalo Sabres for a third-round pick.
Yeah, the last few weeks here, Buffalo's finally been starting to win some hockey games, and Montour's been one of their better defensemen, so I think this was a good pickup for Florida, only costing them a third-rounder. I think that's a good value.
Yeah, I mean, much like Taylor Hall and a bunch of other Buffalo Sabres this year, Montour has not played well at all, but he was a pretty solid Anaheim Duck, and people were quite excited when he first went to Buffalo. So maybe, getting another kick at the can here in Florida will serve him well and the team well.
Yeah, another contending team. I would say maybe the second most likely to win the Cup behind the Lightning is the Colorado Avalanche, and they beefed up all three areas, one forward, one defenseman, one goaltender, bringing back Carl Soderberg. I think he's a good depth centerman. Patrick Nemeth is a pretty good defensive defenseman, and, Devin Dubnyk does give them another goaltending option.
Yeah, I thought that the goaltending move was an interesting one. Pavel Francouz looks like he could be done for the year. They ended up getting Johansson.
Yeah, he did have a
from
shutout
Buffalo,
the other
got a
day as
shutout.
well, yeah.
But I guess they decided to bring in the veteran Devin Dubnyk. And I don't know, not a bad move, I guess.
Yeah, you can never have too many goalies come playoff time.
Well, especially a team like Colorado.
They learned that last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, much like the Leafs, they're looking primed for a deep run. So they've shored up every position possible.
Got to get some more foot soldiers for the long battle.
Yep.
How about the New York Islanders? They made a couple of nice additions.
Yeah, I think the guys they targeted, New Jersey as a team that, no quarantine necessary, just down the road, getting Travis Zajac and Palmieri as well. Those are two players that I think fit really nicely into their system. Good, honest players that work hard, and I think this is the Islanders kind of trade that you'll see them make.
Yeah.
Maybe not the sexiest players, but...
Absolutely, but they're not the sexiest team, are they? I mean,
They aren't.
Zajac and Palmieri, I think, will fit perfectly on this team. Right in the trot system, they can play a bunch of positions. Palmieri can play. He's got some grit. He's got some scoring. He can play on the power play. He can kill penalties. Great players for the New York Islanders.
And even less sexier now that Lou Lamoriello made him shave his beard, Palmieri's beard.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough break.
No beards allowed. And Mark, you really like to move the Vegas Golden Knights made, yeah?
Yeah, I think they made a nice under-the-radar acquisition in getting Matthias Janmark out of Chicago. Now, it did cost them a second and third round pick, but this is a really solid two-way hockey player. You can trust him on your third line. I think he'll play really important minutes for them in the playoffs.
And how about Jeff Carter? He was traded by the LA Kings to the Pittsburgh Penguins for a third and a fourth rounder.
Yeah, his best days are behind him, but he can still snipe them, and if you put him on the right line, maybe get him on the second line power play unit, he could make some noise for the Penguins, and they've been really strong in the second half, so...
Absolutely, and no lack of Stanley Cup experience there with Jeff Carter either. Multi-positional guy as well, so he might be a player for them.
And what about your team, Mark, the Montreal Canadiens? What did you think of the deals that they made?
Yeah, another classic bargain bin Bergevin kind of deadline. They pick up a couple of depth defensemen, John Merrill, Eric Gustafsson, one defensive defenseman, one offensive defenseman. I'm not sure either of them will make a big difference, but they did move on from Victor Mete, so they needed something on the back end.
And John, what about the Winnipeg Jets?
Well, people were saying that the Jets needed a defenseman, which is not true. We didn't land the biggest fish with David Savard, and we went for a smaller fish. Well, he's a big man.
A big hairy fish.
A big hairy fish, yeah. Jamie Benn's brother, Jordy Ben. We got Jordy Ben. So I'm reasonably happy with that. I'm glad that the Winnipeg Jets didn't go out and overreach, because I don't think they're thinking that they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year. So I'm glad they made a move to shore up the defense, and we'll see how it goes throughout the playoff run.
Well, we've gone through pretty much all the trades of note. Who do you guys think is the biggest winner of this deadline then?
I don't really feel like there's any slam dunk winners this year. I don't know. I really don't feel like teams made moves that move the needle that much, personally.
No, hey? Well, I'm going to say it's your Leafs, Jeff. It sickens me to say it, but I really do think that Nick Foligno was exactly the player that they needed. David Riddick provides some more goaltending depth. And I think Riley Nash, if he pans out and gets healthy in time, he's shown that he's a playoff performer as well. So you guys look poised to take the North Division. And if you get into the Final Four, anything's possible.
Are we recording that? Did we just get Mark saying that?
Okay. Yeah, we are on the air.
Yeah, I'm just hedging my bets. If they win, at least I can say I was right. But
John,
they are the Leafs after all.
John, what about you?
Well,
Winners?
I would almost agree with Mark. The problem with the Toronto Maple Leafs is they always lose in the first round. So
yeah, this year to the Habs, hopefully.
Yeah, so I'm expecting that tradition to continue, and I'm not a big fan of the trade deadline, so I'm gonna pick the team that made no moves of note. I'm gonna go with the Carolina Hurricanes.
But the joke's on you. They did add Hockenpah from Anaheim.
Big boy.
Yeah,
he's a big body.
Yeah, he likes to hit the other players.
He does.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they didn't do much, but that's your winner, yeah?
Well, I think that they're looking at their window as being open for a long time, and this is probably not their year. It's a weird year. Right?
Why isn't it their year?
Well, it could be, but it's a weird year to double down. You got COVID going crazy. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So why risk future assets on a year that nobody knows the outcome?
Maybe they should have gotten a fourth goalie.
Yeah, the four-headed goaltending monster. That's not a good idea. Yeah.
Or they could have pulled the Chicago Blackhawks. They don't know what direction they're going. Were they buyers or sellers?
So many trades, right?
I don't know.
Small
Stan
trades.
Bowman, very busy there.
Yeah, interesting path for the Chicago Blackhawks. I wonder if Taves will come back.
Yeah,
But
we'll see.
I guess we'll see.
Well, that was a lot of fun, guys. We have our stretch run show coming out shortly.
Yeah, should be out in about a week or so from now, so stay tuned because the best has yet to come.
Thanks for joining us, and I hope you had yourselves a time.
Well, I hope you had yourselves a time. Hope you had yourselves a time. Hope you had time. Yourselves a time. Hope you had yourselves a time. Well, I hope you had yourselves a time. Hope you had the time.